SHEDEUR Sanders didn't just sign a contract. He drew a line in the sand. As a rookie quarterback drafted in the 5th round, the expectation was simple. Earn your place, stay quiet, follow the system. But Sanders flipped that script completely, negotiating a deal that hands him full ownership of his personal brand, including nil rights and profit sharing, terms typically reserved for household names. His move reflects a broader cultural shift in pro sports, where younger athletes are no longer waiting to be validated by stats or seniority. They're entering the league with established brands and demanding control from day one. This contract isn't just about Sanders, it's about the future of the NFL. By asserting economic autonomy early in his career, Sanders has challenged the league's long-standing control over how players are marketed and...
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
His self-sustaining ecosystem, built through merch drops, media content, and a loyal following, bypasses traditional team-driven exposure. The Browns' decision to support this structure shows a readiness to evolve with the next generation of athletes, suggesting a larger transformation in how franchises value and interact with player identities. The NFL has never seen anything quite like this. SHEDEUR Sanders, a 5th-round rookie, just signed a contract extension so unprecedented it's already sending tremors through front offices across the league. But this isn't just a story about money. It's about power. It's about the end of business as usual in the most tightly controlled league in professional sports, and the rise of a player who isn't waiting his turn to make a statement. Let's be clear. This deal would have made headlines no matter when it dropped. But the fact that it was finalized within hours of Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski's official departure, that timing wasn't just poetic, it was tactical. Stefanski embodied the NFL's traditional coaching mold. He ran a tight ship, system over stars, controlled narratives, focused on the field. And now, he's out. And SHEDEUR Sanders, still technically a rookie, is moving in to fill the vacuum, not just with his play, but with a contract that flips the entire NFL hierarchy on its head. The structure of this extension is what really blows it open. Sanders secured full ownership of his name, image, and likeness. That means any revenue generated from products, promotions, content, or branding tied to him, he gets a cut. Not just endorsement deals he signs on his own. We're talking revenue from any commercial use of his identity, within or connected to the Browns ecosystem. That level of control is something reserved for MVPs, Hall of Famers, global sports icons, not rookies drafted outside the top rounds. Yet, here we are. And this isn't just about what Sanders got. It's what the Browns gave up. This kind of autonomy doesn't exist in rookie contracts for a reason, because it challenges the NFL's foundation, team control. It undermines decades of carefully crafted structures where the league dictates how players are packaged, promoted, and monetized. Now, SHEDEUR's deal cuts straight through that. No rookie in history has ever been granted this much off-the-field power, and that's exactly why it matters. Because it shows that Sanders wasn't just drafted to play quarterback. He was brought in as a brand, an enterprise, and a statement about where the Browns are headed. This wasn't a spontaneous negotiation. The coordination, the timing, the contractual language, it all points to a premeditated play from Sanders' camp. They saw Stefanski's traditional top-down philosophy as a barrier. And once that barrier was gone, they moved fast, locking in a deal before any new leadership could settle in and try to reimpose control. That's not bold. That's strategic. And what makes this moment even more significant is what it signals for the league at large. For years, the NFL has operated under a model where players, especially rookies, have minimal leverage. The league controls their likeness. Teams control their brand presence. Even their social media is often subject to internal policies. But now, a 5th-round pick just set a precedent that could break that model wide open. SHEDEUR Sanders is operating on a totally different plane. His value isn't limited to touchdowns or yards. It's in how many people are watching him off the field. He's monetizing his presence every day, not just on Sundays. Through merch drops, social content, media partnerships, He's already built a self-sustaining empire. And that empire isn't team-dependent. It's audience-driven. That's exactly why this deal feels like a direct challenge to the NFL's old playbook. And make no mistake, the league knows it. Front offices across the country are now dissecting this contract line by line. Because if SHEDEUR could negotiate this level of control as a rookie, what happens when future first-rounders demand the same? What happens when agents walk into meetings armed with this deal as leverage? The power balance just shifted. And the NFL Players Association is paying attention too. This isn't just a one-off anomaly. It's a tangible example of how players can claim ownership of their identities and demand equity, not just endorsement money, but true participation in the business of football. That's a whole different conversation, one that's now guaranteed to show up in future CBA negotiations. SHEDEUR's extension doesn't just rewrite rookie contracts. It threatens to dismantle the NFL's centralized grip on player branding altogether. What makes this even more disruptive is how seamlessly SHEDEUR fits into the role of modern athlete entrepreneur. He's not just media trained, he's media fluent. Every public appearance, every post, every statement is part of a larger ecosystem. He doesn't need a PR department to generate buzz. He is the buzz. He's cultivated direct-to-fan channels that bypass the league's traditional media filters entirely. That's a massive advantage. While other rookies are learning their playbooks, SHEDEUR is building a brand strategy. He's leveraging his digital footprint, his cultural relevance, and his market appeal, not just to grow his image, but to shape how teams engage with talent moving forward. And the Browns clearly recognize this. By agreeing to these terms, they're signaling that they understand the business has changed. They're not just investing in SHEDEUR's potential as a quarterback. They're buying into his influence, his draw, his ability to keep Cleveland in the conversation, no matter what the record says. That's not just about marketing. That's about franchise identity. The Browns have spent years trying to find a clear direction. Constant coaching turnover, QB instability, off-field drama. Now, they've placed a massive bet, not on a veteran or a proven winner, but on a cultural figure who represents a completely new way of thinking. It's a high-risk, high-reward strategy, because empowering one player to this degree is bound to cause friction. The locker room isn't immune to that. Veterans may not love seeing a rookie with this level of control. Coaches may struggle to maintain authority when the face of the team has more reach than they do. And what happens if SHEDEUR underperforms on the field? The whole deal becomes a lightning rod. But if it works, if he plays well and continues to grow his off-field brand, then this could be the new normal. Teams won't just scout talent, they'll evaluate social influence. Branding potential will become part of draft prep. Rookie deals will include nil clauses as standard. And the NFL will have to reckon with the fact that control is no longer theirs to keep. The blueprint has been drawn. SHEDEUR Sanders is the prototype. Whether this marks the start of a league-wide shift or just a high-profile exception will depend on how the next few seasons unfold. But one thing's already certain. The precedent is set. And the league will never be able to fully walk it back. This contract isn't just a win for one player. It's a challenge to the entire NFL infrastructure. From here on out, every team, every agent, and every executive knows that the balance of power can be tipped if the player is bold enough, strategic enough, and valuable enough to make it happen. And that's exactly what SHEDEUR Sanders just did. If you've got thoughts on how this will impact the future of the league, drop them in the comments. Should more players push for this kind of deal? Did the Browns just outsmart the NFL or open a Pandora's box? Hit like, share it around, and make sure you're subscribed. Because the next generation of NFL drama isn't happening on the field. It's happening in the contract room. What SHEDEUR Sanders just did isn't just a personal flex. It's a reshuffling of the NFL's power grid. A fifth-round rookie didn't just get paid. He didn't just secure playing time. He walked into one of the most old-school, hierarchical systems in professional sports and rewrote the playbook before the ink dried on his rookie contract. Because when a franchise signs off on a deal that gives a rookie full nil rights and revenue sharing from every single branded product tied to his name, they're not just betting on a quarterback. They're redefining what a quarterback is. And they did it right after firing their head coach. Let's not breeze past that. Kevin Stefanski was everything the NFL's traditional structure loves. Predictable, disciplined, system-oriented. He didn't run a locker room built for TikTok stars or brand-first athletes. He ran plays, not narratives. And for 4 years, that was the energy in Cleveland. Control the chaos, keep it tight, don't let the personalities get too loud. So when Stefanski was shown the door and SHEDEUR Sanders' extension was announced within hours, that wasn't just good timing. It was a calculated pivot, a seismic shift. The old regime walked out. The new era walked in, with cameras rolling, content cued, and a brand-first rookie quarterback standing front and center. This wasn't improvisation. This was execution. And now, the Browns are the first franchise in NFL history to tie their organizational identity to a rookie's personal brand before he's even played a full season. Think about that. They didn't just make room for SHEDEUR, they cleared the path. And by doing so, they've triggered a ripple effect that's already shaking the NFL's foundation. Because SHEDEUR's deal isn't just innovative, it's dangerous to the current system. The league's entire business model is built on scale. The shield comes first. The team name comes second. Then the individual player, maybe. The marketing power is concentrated at the top, not the bottom. But this deal flips that upside down. Now a rookie controls his own image. That means the Browns can't use his likeness however they want. The league can't pump out generic promo clips with his face slapped on top. If it's his brand, it runs through him, and he gets paid when it moves the needle. That's a level of leverage that the NFL has gone out of its way to prevent for decades. And SHEDEUR just walked in and secured it like it was nothing. The genius here isn't just in the negotiation. It's in the timing. With Stefanski gone, the Browns were in transition. No head coach. No clear leadership hierarchy. No immediate resistance to unconventional moves. And that's when Sanders' team pounced. Because you don't get this kind of deal if the head coach still holds the keys. Not someone like Stefanski, who built his coaching reputation on discipline and control. He was the firewall. And once it came down, SHEDEUR got through. It's hard not to see this as a generational power move. And not just because of what it means for Sanders personally. This is the beginning of a blueprint. Other rookies, especially ones with big college followings and savvy teams behind them, are already watching this unfold like it's the NFL's version of a revolution. Agents are taking notes. Executives are scrambling. Legal teams are combing through old contracts to see how exposed they might be. And rookies? They're realizing they don't have to play nice anymore. They can ask for more, demand more, because someone already cracked the door open. This isn't just about nil rights or merch revenue. It's about reshaping what it means to be a professional athlete in 2026. Because the NFL used to operate like a machine. Players came in, followed the system, and earned their power over time if they stayed healthy, stayed quiet, and stayed productive. But that model doesn't hold up when players walk in with their own media empires, their own fan bases, and their own understanding of value. SHEDEUR Sanders doesn't need the NFL to be famous. He's already famous. He doesn't need the Browns to build his platform. He brings one with him. That flips every negotiation on its head. It's no longer about what the team can offer the player. It's about what the player brings to the table, both on and off the field. And let's not pretend this isn't causing tension. Inside locker rooms, there are veterans who've played 10 years without touching a deal like this. Coaches who spent decades climbing the ladder only to watch a rookie walk in and become the face of the franchise overnight. That's real friction. But here's the problem. It's not going away. The next crop of athletes is even more digitally native. They've grown up branding themselves from middle school. They've had nil deals in college. They've learned how to monetize everything, from practice clips to sideline outfits. And now they're entering the NFL, expecting to control their image the same way. The only difference is, SHEDEUR just proved it's possible. And that terrifies the league. Because if this becomes the standard, the NFL loses one of its most valuable tools: narrative control. They can't push the same uniform messaging. They can't sell players as interchangeable parts of a team-first machine. They'll have to start treating them like partners. That's a massive shift, and not one the league is ready for. But here's the wild part: Cleveland might be. They've been stuck in football purgatory for years. A carousel of QBs, dysfunction at the top, identity crises on and off the field. But now, they've planted a flag. They've chosen to be the team that bets on the future, on influence, on bold, player-driven branding. That doesn't mean it'll be smooth. Giving one rookie this much leverage could blow up spectacularly. If Sanders doesn't deliver on the field, the scrutiny will be brutal. If he clashes with future coaches, it'll be chaos. If the locker room fractures, the narrative turns sour fast. But if it works, if he plays even competently and continues to dominate the off-field space, then Cleveland just set the pace for the modern NFL franchise. And the league won't be able to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Because from now on, every rookie who brings commercial value, social reach, or brand credibility will want a seat at the table. They'll want control. They'll want ownership. And they'll point to SHEDEUR Sanders as the reason why. So the question isn't whether this deal is a one-off. The question is, how long until it becomes the new normal? What makes this moment so volatile, so impossible to ignore, is that SHEDEUR Sanders didn't just step into an opportunity. He created one. He didn't wait for the NFL to catch up to the new rules of sports business. He showed up with his own rulebook, slid it across the table, and dared the Browns to sign it. And they did. Now the rest of the league is left trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Because this wasn't some once-in-a-generation quarterback whose on-field dominance gave him the power to strong-arm a team. SHEDEUR Sanders was a fifth-round pick. Fifth. He wasn't supposed to be able to dictate terms, let alone redefine what the terms even are. The system is designed to grind players like him through the machine. Minimum leverage, minimum risk for the team, maximum control for the league. But SHEDEUR isn't playing the game the NFL is used to. He's playing the media game, the culture game. And he's already miles ahead. That's what terrifies the old guard. Because if someone drafted that low can pull this off, if someone without a snap of professional football under his belt can command nil rights, profit sharing, and brand autonomy, then it's only a matter of time before higher-profile players realize they've been shortchanging themselves for years. Let's call this what it is, a rebalancing of power. For decades, the NFL treated players like assets, roster pieces, stats on a spreadsheet. You play, we promote, you win, we monetize. But in today's world, athletes aren't just athletes. They're influencers. They're digital properties. They're CEOs of their own brand ecosystems. SHEDEUR understood that early. He didn't wait to be told his value. He calculated it, marketed it, monetized it, and then leveraged it. That's why this deal was never about money. It was about leverage, ownership, future-proofing. The right to say, if you're going to use me to build your franchise identity, I get a stake in what that's worth. And the Browns said yes. Now, whether that was genius or desperation is still up for debate. Because this is a team that's been stuck in chaos mode for years. Quarterback drama, coaching turnover, front office instability. Cleveland has been football purgatory. So maybe this was their way out. Maybe they saw SHEDEUR's media appeal, cultural clout, and marketing draw as a shortcut to relevance. Or maybe they got played by a rookie with a better PR team than they've ever had. Either way, they've made a choice. They've tethered their future not just to a quarterback, but to a brand. That's a radical move in a league that still values silence over self-expression, conformity over creativity. And that choice has consequences. Locker rooms are ecosystems. When you elevate one player above the structure, give him creative control, give him a cut of the brand, make him the face, it creates ripple effects. Other players start asking questions. Why doesn't my jersey deal come with a revenue clause? Why is he getting profit from the hype when I'm putting up the same numbers? This kind of deal forces a team to redefine how it values players, not just in terms of performance, but in terms of influence. And that's a much trickier line to walk. especially when performance doesn't always align with hype. Because what happens if SHEDEUR struggles? What if he throws picks instead of touchdowns? What if the Browns start losing and the branding doesn't match the box score? The NFL media cycle turns fast. One bad game becomes a distraction. Two bad games, and suddenly the narrative is, was this all a mistake? You can already hear the pundits warming up their takes. That's the tightrope SHEDEUR now walks. And that's the pressure the Browns willingly signed up for. But on the flip side, if he delivers, on the field and online, he becomes a prototype. The first of a new breed of athlete who doesn't just play the game, but owns a piece of it. And that terrifies the NFL's upper brass. Because this league has always been about control. Control of player image. Control of the narrative. Control of the money. This contract chips away at all three. It says, players are more than statistics. They're platforms. It says you don't have to wait 5 years and 3 Pro Bowls to negotiate from strength. And most importantly, it says, if you bring value beyond the playbook, you deserve to be compensated for it. That idea is radical to the NFL, but not to the next generation of athletes. They're already branding themselves in college, already building audiences, already used to calling the shots. For them, this isn't some revolutionary concept. It's just business. And now they have a roadmap. You think SHEDEUR's deal is going to stay a one-off? Not a chance. The next wave of prospects is already preparing. The top high school recruits are watching. College QBs with podcast deals and merch lines are watching. They're not coming into the league hoping to fit into the mold. They're coming in expecting to reshape it. And now they have proof it can be done. So here's the NFL's new reality. Adapt or fall behind. Teams that understand this shift will position themselves as destinations. Teams that don't will look outdated overnight. Because when you've got top-tier talent demanding nil ownership and brand equity, telling them that's not how we do things here just doesn't cut it anymore. The Browns, for all their dysfunction, just became ground zero for the next era of NFL negotiations. Whether that turns them into trendsetters or cautionary tales, we'll find out soon enough. But the precedent is set. SHEDEUR Sanders has changed the conversation, not with a Super Bowl, not with a game-winning drive, but with a pen and a contract that says players aren't waiting around for power. They're taking it. Let's hear what you think. Is this the future of football, or is Cleveland playing with fire? Should rookies have this kind of control? Should more teams take this kind of risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you're into the drama off the field as much as on it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next twist in this saga. Because trust, this story is far from over.